Starting at number 10, we have Baphomet. Now, the image of Baphomet was originally created back in 1854 by the occultist Eliphaz Levi for his book Dogmas and Rituals of High Magic. But even before this depiction, Baphomet was a deity that the Knights Templar were accused of worshipping, and then it was incorporated into the occult and mystical traditions. Now, the name Baphomet appeared in the trial transcripts for the Inquisition of the Knights Templar starting back as early as 1307, and the symbol reflects a number of principles that are considered to be fundamental to occultists, and it was influenced by Kabbalah, Hermeticism, alchemy, as well as other beliefs. Now, Baphomet as a goat face in an inverted pentagram is also a very popular occult symbol. Number 9, we have the Tetragrammaton. Now, you wouldn't really think that this next one would have anything to do with the occult, but it actually does. So God is called by many names in Hebrew, and the word Tetragrammaton is a Greek word that means word of 4 letters, and it was one of the names that the Jews would write down, but they would not pronounce it. It was considered to be too holy to be said by anyone. Now, early Christian transliterators, they pronounced this name Jehovah from the 17th century and beyond, and by the time we got to the 19th century, the word was retransliterated into the word Yahweh. So the letters that make up the Tetragrammaton are Yod, He, Vah, and He. Now in English, they're commonly written as YHWH or JHVH. It's because the J and the Y, as well as the V and the W, can be translated into the same pronunciation. Now, occultists based in Judeo-Christian mythology consider the Hebrew names of God such as Adonai and Elohim to hold a lot of power in them, but none of them hold as much power as the Tetragrammaton. And in the occult, God is most commonly represented by the Tetragrammaton. And even occultists believe that, yeah, you do not say this word. There's so much power in it, and people don't even understand the power that is in that word. Even Aleister Crowley was like, yeah, this word is very powerful. But now moving on to number 8, we have the Rosy Cross. The Rosy Cross is often associated with a number of different schools of thought, including the Golden Dawn, the Thelema, the OTO, as well as the Rosicrucians, also known as the Order of the Rose Cross. Now, each of these groups have a different type of interpretation of the symbol, and they use it in different ways, but this shouldn't be a surprise because magic, as well as occult and esoteric symbols, are often used to communicate different ideas that you can't really express just in speech. There's often a whole world when it comes to symbols. So every single group, of course, is going to have a different perspective. Now, a pentagram is displayed at the end of each arm of the cross, and now each of these pentagrams bears a symbol of 5 elements. There's a wheel for spirit, there's a bird's head that symbolizes air, the zodiac sign for Leo, which is a fire sign, and the zodiac symbol for Taurus, which is an earth sign, and then there's a zodiac symbol for Aquarius, which is a water sign. This next one probably doesn't come as a surprise to many of you, but the pyramid is here. Now, the pyramid is a key symbol in Freemasonry and reported to be a symbol used by the Illuminati. And this is especially when it's depicted with a separated capstone. So in certain occult circles, the all-seeing eye is thought to refer to a great divide among the people. Now, each level or step of the pyramid represents a socioeconomic class, and the capstone with the eye represents the most elite and their elevated status among the rest of humankind. The Tree of Life is also a very popular occult symbol. It's also called Etz Chaim in Hebrew, and it's a common visual depiction of the 10 Sephirot of Kabbalah. Each Sephirot represents an attribute of God through which he manifests his eternal will. Now, the Tree of Life doesn't represent a single sort of system or anything like that, but it can be applied to the formation and existence of both physical as well as metaphysical worlds, as well as to one's own soul and state of being or understanding. On top of that, different schools of thoughts like Kabbalistic Judaism as well as modern Western occultism also offer different interpretations of the symbol. Halfway in at number 5, we have this one here, the evil eye. The evil eye is a curse that is believed to be cast when you give an evil glare, and it's usually given to a person when they are completely unaware that it's happening. Now, many cultures believe that receiving an evil eye will cause misfortune or some sort of injury, so be careful out there, guys. guys. The evil eye is often sold as jewelry, decoration, among other things, and it was said to be created to protect people against the evil eye or evil spirits. Number 4 brings us the hieroglyphic monad. Now this is a symbol that was created by John Dee and described in Monas Hieroglyphica, or the hieroglyphic monad, back in the year 1564. Now this symbol is intended to represent the reality of the monad, which is a singular entity from which all material things are said to come from. Now, the symbol is constructed from 4 distinct symbols. There's the astrological signs for the moon and the sun, as well as the cross, and the zodiac sign of Aries, the ram, represented by 2 semicircles at the bottom of the glyph. The symbol at number 3 is the seal of the truth of God. The sigillum Dei Emeth, or the seal of the truth of God, is most widely known through writings and artifacts from John Dee, who was a 16th century occultist as well as an astrologer in the court of Elizabeth I. Now, while the symbol does appear in older texts, Dee was actually not happy with them, and so it's believed that he gained guidance from an angel to construct his own version of the symbol. And now Dee's system of angelic magic, known as Enochian, is heavily rooted in the number 7, and it's a number which is strongly connected to the 7 traditional planets of astrology. So with this, the Sigillum Dei Emeth is primarily constructed of heptagrams, which are 7-pointed stars, and heptagons, which are 7-sided polygons. Now let's take a look at the created universe symbol. Occultists of the Renaissance period, they offer contradictory views of the created universe, and there was a sort of common sense struggle between spirit and matter, where material things are imperfect and contrary to spiritual things, as per modern Christian teachings. And now the illustrator and occultist Robert Flood often promoted this view as well, and because Christianity envisions God as a tripartite being, we have the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, all united within a single Godhead, the triangle is commonly used as a symbol for God. Now the upper triangle of this whole symbol here, with a tetragrammaton in the middle of it, symbolizes the totality of God. And in the lower triangle, we see 3 circles in it, now with the center being a solid mass. And then the solid mass is actually physical reality, and the circles represent the 3 realms. There's physical, celestial, and angelical. And finally, the occult symbol at number 1 is the lightning bolt. Yeah, this one was very surprising to me. So satanic worshippers identify this as 777, and this was made popular by Aleister Crowley, who wrote the Guide to Witchcraft and Satanic Worship. It's said that Aleister Crowley hated God so much that he named himself 777. Why? Because 666 was already taken. Now, Aleister Crowley's instructions to his followers was that they should learn to speak as well as write and walk backwards so that they can open themselves up to hear the demonic world speak to them. You'll also notice this lightning bolt symbol in the form of the letter S as well. And this is simply because when Lucifer was kicked out of heaven, he fell out of heaven like lightning. And this is according to Jesus in the New Testament of the Bible. And in satanic circles, the symbol represents the destroyer, which Satan is called. Alright guys, so that wraps up this episode on 10 surprising occult symbols that exist. And let me know, were some of these occult symbols new to you, or did you know all of them? Sound off down below. I'd just love to hear your thoughts and comments about anything that I mentioned in this episode as well. Now guys, before I head on out, I'm going to be replying to some of your comments that you left, specifically on a video that we did titled 10 Most Popular Gods That People Worship. So let's jump into those comments right now. Now the first comment comes from Malcolm Baxter, and he says, FTD Facts, I'm loving the trends of gods and stuff that you're covering and explaining. Keep it up. Good job. And I know a lot of you guys have been asking about do things more related to God and spirituality, and asking for us to do videos about different beliefs, because there's so much to talk about. So I'm really glad that you guys are actually enjoying this, and if it's something that you want to see more of, keep letting me know below in the comment section. Definitely a lot of these videos are based on what you guys are suggesting. Now the next commenter is Super Syed, and he says, God is someone who created everything. Simple. Well, that depends on your definition of God, because in some spheres, the God with a lowercase g actually means a type of ruler, or just someone who's given an elevated status in society. Like for example, the famous Indian cricket player Sachin Tendulkar, he's called the god of cricket. Not that he's a god that like created people or anything. But he played the game so good that it was like he was elevated above anyone else in the world of cricket. So in that sense, you can see that the term God can be used in many different ways, not just referring to the belief in a creator god. All right, so now let's see what 11 Starfire had to say. You left out one very, very important god that people have worshipped since before Zeus and still openly worship today. Money. And you know, honestly, this was probably one of the realest comments that I've seen in a while, because yeah, it's so true. I was thinking about this. I'm like, how am I gonna respond to this? And then I was looking, I'm like, yeah, we say the term all the time. I need money, I need money. Oh my God, I don't have any money. And then it's like money becomes our God. But I'm like, didn't humans create money? Money is actually a tool. It's a medium of exchange. We created it. We got power over money. So great comment, man. Definitely made me think a lot more. And number 10, where is Eden? You know, the Garden of Eden mentioned with Adam and Eve. You know, they led a beautiful life in the Garden of Eden until they ruined their blessings and introduced sin into the world. But where exactly is Eden anyways? No one's really sure. In the Bible, it is stated that a river went out from Eden to water the garden. From there, it divided and became the source of 4 rivers. And the name of the first river is Pishon, which flows through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. Now the name of the second is Gihon, which flows through the entire land of Cush. Now the name of the third one is Tigris, which runs east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates, as it's mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verses 10 to 14. But no one knows where the first humans experienced Eden and precisely where the garden is actually located. 2 of the 4 rivers mentioned in the book, Tigris and Euphrates, they exist and we know where they are today, but the other 2 haven't 100% been confirmed. Guesses are that Eden is in the Middle East based on the river Tigris and the river Euphrates, but no one knows 100% for sure. Now moving on to number 9, did dinosaurs exist as well as other creatures? Okay, so modern science has found proof for the existence of dinosaurs, but the Bible doesn't talk about them as modern education does. In the Bible, 2 creatures are mentioned that are monstrous in size and have supernatural characteristics unlike the animals we know today. Could this be in reference to dinosaurs or maybe some other type of creature? One of the creatures is Behemoth, that's described as a beast to be feared and which can only be killed by God's sword. Now the other is a multi-headed beast called Leviathan. And in the Old Testament, Leviathan appears in the book of Psalms chapter 74 verses 14 as a multi-headed sea serpent that is killed by God and given as food to the Hebrews in the wilderness. So as you and I both know, this planet, we see some pretty interesting and strange looking creatures from time to time. But the ones described in the Bible, they seem to have otherworldly origins. Moving on to number 8, how did the giants come to an end? So giants have been mentioned in the Bible quite a few times. In the book of Genesis 6 verse 4, it said, the Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in onto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same were the mighty men that were of old, men of renown. Now, there are a few questions that this passage brings up. Why do people not grow to be giants now? Especially it says that giants lived in the world after that. And what specific race of people was it talking about? Now there's many different interpretations that exist out there about the Nephilim, who they are, where they're from, if they exist or not. But not much is really found about them in the Bible specifically. Now from there, let's look to number 7, evolution. Evolution, the change in the characteristics of a species over several generations, is a very common believed concept today. But in the Bible, there is just no mention of evolution. It's mentioned that God created all life from man to animals alike, but there is no description of the evolutionary process, and it's biblical mystery. Was there evolution or not? Now for number 6, what are atoms? Just like there's no specific mention of evolution in the Bible, there's also no mention of atoms that are the building blocks of matter. The Bible has left a discovery of many of these smaller units of matter up to modern science and education, and there's no specific reference to them in the Bible at all. There, however, is a passage in the New Testament in the book of Hebrews chapter 11 verse 3 which says, "Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear." This passage points to the idea that there are unseen forces behind everything that we see. So does it mean that there's something beyond atoms that work as a framework of everything that we see? And what else has science not discovered yet? Halfway into number 5, let's talk about alien life. This is a very popular subject. Now, number 6 just alluded to this when it mentioned worlds, plural for world, but it doesn't mention life on those worlds. Today, scientists are spending a whole lot of money and resources on finding traces of alien life and communicating with them. Although up until now, there have been some UFO reports and conspiracy theories, there is actually no proof, no concrete proof that life exists beyond our planet. But in the Bible, outside of the mention of angels living in heaven, there's no specific mention about aliens or life beyond our planet that live on other planets out there. If there is life out there, will we ever know? The mystery at number 4 is the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the Ark of the Covenant is a chest that is supposed to have had the tablets engraved with the 10 Commandments. Now, whether it was destroyed or captured or hidden, nobody really knows for sure. One of the most famous claims about the Ark of the Covenant and where it is that before the Babylonians completely ransacked Jerusalem, it had found its way all the way to Ethiopia, where it still is today in a town of Axum in the St. Mary of Zion Cathedral. Number 3, this mystery involves where the Holy Grail is. Where is it actually? Now, if you're not familiar with the term, the Holy Grail is the chalice that Jesus used at the Last Supper to drink from. He served wine in it and gave it to his disciples and all of that, and it really holds a lot of value for Christians. They believe that it was buried in England by Jesus's uncle or taken from the Holy Land by the Knights Templar. But in the Bible, there is actually no hint about the location of this chalice. According to BBC, they have stated more than 200 places in Europe alone that claim they are in possession of the one true Holy Grail. But the Bible has no answer of its location, nor does it mention if it really exists or not. Now, moving on to number 2, another popular subject having to do with the end of the world. There's a whole lot of detail about the apocalypse in the Bible, specifically in the last book, Revelation. Now, it says that the world will end and everything in it will be laid bare, and the last day will occur after a period called the millennium. Now, over the course, more than 80 documentaries containing the predictions of how the world will end, they have actually shed some light on the Christian scriptures, but there's actually no specific date or time of the world ending mentioned in the Bible. It's still a big mystery. And finally, at number 1, how did people live so long in the Bible? In the Bible, we find mentions of people living for hundreds of years. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image and called his name Seth. And that's found in the book of Genesis chapter 5 verses 3. Now, modern technology has been able to help people to live upwards of 80 to 90 years. And some people, they live to 100 years and beyond that, but not too far beyond 100 years. But so far, we have not seen people live for hundreds of years. Now, in the past eras, people tracked time differently. So is that the answer as to why people live so long? If you tracked a shorter year, you can say somebody is 600, but to us, they could be 30 years old, let's say. But is that the explanation, or is there more to this? Either way, we don't have a concrete, solid answer as to why people live so long in the Bible. Okay, so let's jump in now at number 10. We have Angelic Encounters. Many books have been written and countless stories have been told of people who believe they have had encounters with angels. Sometimes they are described as beings of light,
Other times they're described as being beautiful human beings, while others they're just described as being regular looking humans. They almost always appear in a time of need, whether it's some sort of major life intervention or if somebody needs a little bit of encouragement, that angel might show up in whatever form it chooses to take on. But were they actually angels though? Kind of similar to number 10 is number 9, Marian apparitions. For centuries, visions of Mary, the mother of Jesus, have been reported in different parts of the world. Claims of apparitions continue nowadays, and in the year 1968, a Marian apparition was even allegedly televised in the country of Egypt. Mary usually asks people to pray and occasionally makes prophecies. Of course, there's a very famous occurrence happening in Fatima, Portugal, where they said Mary had made a prophecy there. But skeptics say that these visions and these appearances of Mary are hallucinations or maybe even mass hysteria. And there's even others that say that this is actually comparable to when people see UFOs and have alien encounters. Mystery number 8 is the Ark of the Covenant. The New Testament book of Exodus describes in detail this box that's overlaid with gold, and it was something that the ancient Israelites built from God's instructions to contain the tablets that hold the 10 Commandments. But not only that, the Israelites carried it wherever they went, and even into battles because it was said to have incredible powers. The Ark was to represent the throne of God, and some think that the Ark was literally a transmitter of God's power and in turn made it a very powerful weapon. It is believed by many researchers that the Ark is actually still in existence today, but it's hidden and protected somewhere in the world. Number 7 brings us to a fascinating mystery. Incorruptibles. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, incorruptibles are bodies of people, usually saints or other people that are revered, that miraculously do not decay, even after decades or even centuries. The bodies often lie in public view in churches and shrines, and saints and popes and even some companions of the Islamic prophet Muhammad are among those whose bodies are believed to have been preserved. There was one case of the Blessed Margaret of Matola, and it was recorded in an article called Saints Preserve Us. And the article says, and I quote, "She died in 1330, but in 1558 her remains had to be transferred because her coffin was rotting away. Witnesses say the clothes have rotted, but Margaret's body hadn't." Stigmata comes in at number 6. This is one of the most controversial mysteries in this episode. When a person is somehow inflicted with the wounds of crucifixion, like Jesus had in their palms usually, or sometimes in their feet, that is known as stigmata. This phenomenon dates back to at least Saint Francis of Assisi and has been claimed by numerous people since then. Many unofficial accounts of stigmatas have been proven to be frauds though, where people were found out to have just put the wounds in their bodies themselves. Weeping and bleeding icons is another big mystery. Statues and paintings and other likenesses of Jesus and Mary, as well as other saints that appear to be weeping and sometimes even weeping blood, are commonly reported around the world. There's often multiple claims of this in a given year, and one occurrence was of a painting of Jesus hanging in the Bethlehem Church of the Nativity above the spot where Christ is said to have been born. It's seen to be weeping red tears. Others include the Weeping Madonna in Toronto, Canada, and many, many others. Skeptics, though, suspect fraud in all of these cases. The healing power of prayer comes up next. There is definitely a big ongoing debate about the healing power of prayer. You'll see articles and videos of experiments being carried out that show that prayer played a vital role in healing somebody. And then the next month, another source would say that, well, actually prayer didn't have any effect on healing somebody at all, and here's why. But either way, the question still stands: is prayer truly a miracle? Or is there some kind of psychic or quantum effect that humans do not fully understand yet that happens when somebody praise? Moving on to number 3, a very popular one, the Shroud of Turin. No matter how much scientific testing is done to the Shroud of Turin, the results are never satisfying for anyone. Well, that is anyone that believes that the Shroud of Turin is what they say it is. Those who want to believe that it is the burial cloth of Jesus will definitely not be proven wrong despite carbon dating and other tests. The shroud is a 14-foot strip of linen on which is faintly imprinted the likeness of a man that seems to bear the wounds of crucifixion. And there are people that believe that this is in fact an image of Jesus whose likeness was miraculously imprinted on the cloth, possibly at the time of his resurrection. Radiocarbon dating in 1988 concluded that the shroud dates back only to somewhere between 1260 and 1390 AD, so that's well after the time of Jesus. One theory is that it's actually a creation of Leonardo da Vinci. Either way, those who believe this is in fact a face covering for Jesus question how accurate radiocarbon dating is anyways. Let's look at the Star of Bethlehem at number 2. While billions of people around the world accept New Testament Gospels as being fact, religious scholars and scientists, they often seek a scientific basis for many of the events that are described in the New Testament. And one common occurrence referred to in the New Testament is the Star of Bethlehem. According to the Gospel of Matthew, there were some magi who arrived in Jerusalem and they were in search for the newborn king of the Jews, saying that they had followed a moving star to get there. Researchers say that the star could have been something else, like a comet or the planet Jupiter or a supernova or even a UFO. But whatever was seen in the sky that night still remains a topic of debate. Was it actually a star or was it something else? We end this episode off at number 1. Let's take a look at prophecies. Various religions and their foundational texts, they're filled with prophecies that believers say have been or will eventually be proven true. Most religions across the board would agree that a prophet is a person who receives a divine message and speaks to other human beings on behalf of a deity. Now, whether the gift of prophecy continues in our present world, it's definitely still a subject of theological debate. But in recent years, self-described prophets, they have multiplied in the world. Many claim to be hearing directly from God, only to be exposed as frauds when what they said was to happen didn't actually happen, and others would admit that they have lied. Yet still, there are those who believe that God can and has in fact spoken to people through various means, and that all true prophecies and prophets will eventually be proven to be 100% true. 10. Let's look at the handshakes when it comes to Freemasonry. So the Freemasons use a variety of different types of handshakes in order to greet each other. And these handshakes are actually based on a Mason's rank within the organization. So there is different handshakes for each degree. For example, apprentice, fellow craft, and master mason, etc., etc. These are the first degrees, by the way, but there's also various different other higher degrees that come with different handshakes. Now, each rite has its own handshakes, like I mentioned, so there's definitely quite a bit of them. They're used during Masonic ceremonies, as well as, like I mentioned, also greeting each fellow Mason. Now, for number 9, let's look at the symbol. The symbols commonly seen that are associated with Freemasons are considered to be arcane secrets by many, but they actually aren't really that secretive. So the most popular is the all-seeing eye. And this is a very old symbol. It's used to represent the all-knowing quality of God and was not actually designed by Masons. It existed before that. Now, the square and compasses, those represent the art of building and architect. However, in the middle has a degree of ambiguity that rounds it. Some believe that it represents God, the G, or it represents geometry, which is the basis of the entire universal design. Another symbol of Freemasons that takes inspiration from the world around us is the beehive. Well, the beehive symbolizes the busyness of the people that are a part of Freemasons. They're always up to something, always building something, always doing something. Now for number 8, banned by Catholics. The Catholic Church first condemned Freemasonry in the year 1738, and it was prompted by concern over Masonic temples and that the secret rituals were being performed inside of them. In the 19th century, the Vatican even called the Masons the synagogue of Satan. The church went even further in the year 1983 3 declaring this, and I quote, "Their principles have always been considered irreconcilable with the doctrine of the church, and therefore membership in them remains forbidden. The faithful who enroll in Masonic associations are in a state of grave sin and may not receive Holy Communion." From there, let's look at number 7, the use of numbers. Numbers are very symbolic in Freemasonry. The number 3, 5, and 7 are very important. Now, the number 3 is another way of expressing the sacred idea of the triangle. Also, the number 3 symbolizes the deity, or God, and the number 5 represents the 5 human senses, as well as the 5 points of fellowship, and the 5-pointed star, and geometry is called the 5th sense. So we see a lot of symbolism with the number 5 there. Now, Pythagoreans, they consider the use of the number 5 mystical because it is a union of the first even number and the first odd number. And this symbolizes mixed conditions of order and disorder, happiness and misfortune, life and death. Now for number 6, let's move on into the role of women. The early Masonic lodges, they just were for men. So no women was allowed. They were completely prohibited from having any sort of membership in Freemason lodges. And that was a big point of contention for a lot of people. But over the years, women increasingly began to play an active role in the organization, especially in Europe. Masonic organizations were eventually formed that admitted both men and women as full, complete, active members. So that was a big change. And now some of these organizations include the Order of the Amaranth, as well as the Order of the White Shrine of Jerusalem, and the Order of the Eastern Star. In these organizations, women can hold positions of authority as well as leadership. Now I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to be talking about Illuminati for the rest of the video. So starting off with fact number 5, this has to do with the meaning of the word Illuminati. So let's dive into that. It's going to be pretty interesting, so hope you keep on watching. The Illuminati is a name given to several groups, both real and fictitious group. Now, historically, the name usually refers to the Bavarian Illuminati. And if you don't know, Bavaria is a state in southeastern Germany. The reason why I say that this is a name of several groups is because of what the term Illuminati actually means. It's a Latin word for enlightened, and this usually applies to groups that believe that they have some sort of secret or superior knowledge, whether it's spiritual knowledge or scientific knowledge or any other type of knowledge. So that knowledge that they hold would be a source of enlightenment. Therefore, the term can apply to various different groups. Oh, we have the secret knowledge, we're enlightened, Illuminati. Now, for fact number 4, did you know that the Illuminati is an outlawed organization? One begs to ask, why all this secrecy and mystery around the Illuminati today and so much speculation on whether or not they're actually real or fake? Well, the Illuminati is a secret organization today because it was actually outlawed. So when we look back at June 1784, Bavarian leader Karl Theodor banned all secret societies, and the government started uncovering various members of the Illuminati, which caused Johann Weishaupt to go into hiding. So although it originated in Germany during the Enlightenment period, politicians, they feared the concept of organizations like the Illuminati uprising against the government. So what they did was they outlawed it. But when you have such a solid network already established like the Illuminati, of course you want it to continue. So a handful of later organizations, they claim to be descendants of the original Illuminati, but it's believed that the original Bavarian Illuminati may have morphed and evolved into smaller groups since that time, taking on various different forms. It allowed them to operate in secrecy, since you can't just point out to an Illuminati specifically and say, oh, that's the Illuminati organization. No, they morph into many different Illuminatis. Now, moving on to number 3, celebrities and media. Probably the biggest belief in the world about the Illuminati is that they
in various different forms, they propagate certain messages to the world through the media, through celebrities. So many celebrities and other popular figures are believed to be actual members of the Illuminati. Some celebrities, just to name a few, are Beyonce and Jay-Z, Britney Spears, former President of the United States, Barack Obama, Lady Gaga, Angelina Jolie, Will Smith, Kanye West, and Kim Kardashian. And honestly, the list goes on and on. We could probably make a full video just on celebrities that are believed to be part of the Illuminati. Either way though, I have no way of confirming these claims at all, yet some have been caught on camera using certain hand gestures, but these are just certain celebrities who have been suspected of being a part of the Illuminati. People be doing this and stuff like that, and like, interesting, I wonder if they're part of the Illuminati. Moving on to number 2, why the secrecy? Let's look more into this. Why do the Illuminati value secrecy so highly? We touched on this a little bit, but you know, they have their encoded signs and symbols and handshakes and different languages that they use and everything. Well, the answer is simple. You take any prominent organization or company, right? Which of those organizations or companies reveal all of their trademark secrets and all their internal ways of operation and all their different systems and algorithms? None of them do that. Because why? Other organizations are gonna copy them. So they don't wanna reveal it publicly. Illuminati, it's the same way. Now, number 1, let's end off with the secret language. There's a book known as the Codex Magica that was published in the year 2005 by Tex Mars, and it contains over 1,000 photos and illustrations. Now, you'll see various different world leaders and politicians and celebrities performing certain signs and signals, as well as use coded pictures. And this is common in all forms of societies, by the way, even university fraternities. So this is not just something that is done by the Illuminati. Members have different handshakes, like we talked about, and certain things used among them. And it's not necessarily evil or anything. They just have a certain way of doing things, and they would maybe speak to some of their members in a different way using a different term. It's found in any organization. They may be certain lingo. So this is one of the reasons why it's believed that the Illuminati have a secret language that is actually being spoken all around us, because it's just not a foreign idea for them to actually have a secret spoken language.